welcome back. We're actually on episode 15 now of the interviews with everyday people on the HCG diet. I've got Patty here with me today. She's lost 40 pounds with the HCG protocol, and we were just talking beforehand about how I originally came across her. It was actually on Twitter, which I'm not on Twitter very much, but I really should probably work on that. So I love all the people that I interview. I kind of just find them randomly in all kinds of different places, and it's so fun because everybody has their own personal story to tell, and you know, we can take all these awesome tidbits away that can help us on our own journeys. Welcome, Patty. Thanks for being on here today. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thank you. So, so you've lost 40 pounds with this protocol, right? Is that right?
Yes, around 40 pounds, and it goes up and down, but yeah, I can say I've lost
Approximately,
40
yeah.
pounds. Yeah.
Cool, cool, that's good. Well, tell me a little bit just about yourself. Like, how has your size changed? Just a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've had struggled with my weight my whole life. I started dieting when I was 16, and I've gone yo-yo dieting, my
Gotcha.
whole life. And then I found this program, and looks like finally something is working. And this is pretty much the what I've been looking for my whole life. You know?
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
What is it that kind of led you to the yo-yo dieting thing? Everybody kind of has a reason for having weight issues. What do you feel like was the main issue for you?
My main issue is that I'm addicted to food. I like food. I like eating. So I've never been able to control what I eat,
Yeah, like
chunks
one
and
chip
what
leads
kind
to
of
the whole
food.
package.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm an emotional eater, but I eat when I'm happy and eat when I'm sad. So
It just tastes good.
doesn't matter. I love food. So that's been my issue, because when I am dieting, I'm like focused and I
Yeah,
don't cheat. So I had dramatic weight losses my whole life.
gotcha.
But then when I reach certain weight, there is Christmas or something like that I stop dieting, and poof,
Gotcha.
the
So
weight
you
comes
were always
back.
good at being focused on a diet, but then it was just like day-to-day life, you had trouble figuring out how to like eat in a balanced way,
That's right.
basically. Cool. And I know we're going to get into talking about that more a little bit later in the interview, like how you're able to do that now. So tell me how, with the 40-pound weight loss that you had, what was your starting weight? What's your ending weight? How has your clothing size changed?
Uh, I have a log. I keep a log of, everyday weight. So
Yeah.
my starting weight was 157.63 pounds. That was 71.5 kilos.
Okay.
And right now I am 120 pounds. So that's a total weight loss of
Cool.
37.92 as of today. But I'm bloated today. I'm gonna have my period
I
tomorrow.
hate
So
those
I know
days.
that's water weight.
Yeah, and see, you're smart that you know that, so you're not getting too down about it. And just so you guys know, Patty is only 5'1", like me. So, because some of the viewers out there who are taller, they might be thinking like, oh, I would kill to get to 150 pounds. But when you're short like us, that makes us overweight. So,
Yes.
yeah. So you're a shorty like me. So, and how did that affect your clothing sizes? It's like your pants and your tops and stuff.
I started wearing jeans that were size 13. I actually got a new pair like 1 week before starting the diet. So and I stick to the same brand, so I know it's the same reference.
That's
Sometimes you're
cool.
like a five on this
Right.
brand and a two on this other brand, but I'm
Right.
using the same brand. So I got new pair of size 13 jeans when I started, and right now I'm getting size 0 jeans.
Zero,
So
folks.
0, 0.
You
Yeah, I'm
tiny
very happy
girl.
because I never thought, never in my wildest dreams, I thought I would be a size 0.
That's
But yeah,
amazing.
no, my frame is very, very small. So you
Yeah.
see, my fingers overlap seriously around my wrist, so I'm very, very small frame.
Yeah, you are, because actually mine do not overlap. I can barely get my fingers to touch. So since you went from a 13 to a size 0 in the same brand, I mean, that's a huge um, inch change. Did you keep track of your inches and your inch
I
loss?
don't do that often.
Yeah, but
The number
definitely that
was
is
big,
big.
but I did, yeah, I have an app and I've recorded like 3 or 4 times.
Gotcha.
The,
Yeah, but
no,
still, I mean, just the fact that
but
that's a
it's
huge
more like
change.
how the clothes fit.
Right, yeah. And I think in tops you said you were like at a large to
Yeah, I
small
would
or
wear a large, now I'm small or medium.
cool,
It
cool.
also depends on the brand.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, you mentioned to me that you did your first round of HCG. You've done 2 rounds, is that right?
Actually, three,
Oh,
but I
three.
don't count the second one
Oh,
because
right.
I gained it all back.
That's right, everybody. Just like most of us, she has a little failure round in her history. Okay, so, but you had mentioned that one of your rounds was homeopathic,
The
and
first
then
one.
you did another round with actual RX injections. So I wanted to hear your feedback on the comparison between the two, just for yourself.
Well, while using the homeopathic one, that was my first round, and I did struggle a lot because I did apple days or I did steak days, and I would constantly call my coach and tell her, "Hey, I'm not losing weight. I gained 100 grams," and it
Okay.
was a constant battle
So the
to
battle was to, you mean losing weight or hunger or,
losing weight, most of it.
okay,
Hunger, because I would drink tons of water,
okay,
so hunger was not an issue. But
okay.
the actual weight loss
I see.
was hard,
Okay.
and also, well, uh, the injections are easier to use and they're absolutely painless. So
Right.
besides that, the weight loss was more effective.
So you felt the weight
Uh,
loss was better with the
yeah,
injections for you.
way
Gotcha.
way.
And it's kind of interesting too because typically once you weigh less, you don't lose as much on a
It's
later
right.
round, right? We talked about that, but you said did you lose more on that second round or about the same, I think?
Like the same, yeah, with the first one with the drops and the third one
Yeah.
with injections, it was the same weight. And typically, I would expect to lose less because I
Yeah.
was lighter.
Yeah.
So my appreciation is that if I had done injections on the very first round, I would have lost a lot more weight.
I see, gotcha. And then just the other factor was you mentioned the ease of it. A lot of people are very nervous about injections, and I was myself.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, in fact,
The
when I
first time I'd probably watched this thing, how to give yourself a shot like 20 times before I did it. I was so nervous, and at the end it was like, it doesn't even hurt, you
right,
know?
yeah,
And it's easier because you just do it first thing in the morning and you just forget about it the rest of the day. With
right.
the drops, like, oh, yeah, you don't eat 20 minutes before you have them, don't eat 20 minutes after you have them. So
And you had to do
you
that
are
3 times a
starving.
day, right? At least.
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
it can be done. It's just it's a little more complex, and you have to
yeah,
make sure you remember, and like you said, all the waiting, and so sometimes that can be tough. So, and it
yes.
is true. Same thing actually when I started HCG, believe it or not. I never intended on doing injections at all. I was going to do sublingual drops, but the more I researched and the more I looked into it, it was just like, I think since it's just I only have one body, I really want to get this right the first time. So I kind of broke down, and I was gonna have my husband. I made him do my first few injections. That's how nervous I was. Like I couldn't even look. I was like, okay, go ahead, do it. And then I'm like waiting, and like, did you do it? Or he's like, yeah, I already did it. Like, really? I didn't even
What?
feel it. I didn't. Yeah, I honestly did not feel it. So, and that's a true story. I did find as I got leaner, if you're injecting into a less fatty area, sometimes you might feel a little bit more, but then you just kind of go find a fattier spot again, which most of us women always have at least one spot with enough fat.
Plenty of those.
Yeah, so anyway, well, cool. Well, thanks for giving me your feedback on that because it's nice to have the comparison between the two. I have seen, I've interviewed actually on this blog several people who've done homeopathic HCG who are happy with it. So, but it's just nice to know that not everyone is the same. And so if you have a good or a bad experience on one type, there may be another option that might be better for you, you know, so it's just something to remember. So you mentioned that your first phase three, or one of your phase threes, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the stabilization phase after the losing weight part where you're trying to stabilize your new weight. You mentioned that that didn't go too well. Can you tell me like what you did wrong, what happened?
Well, the thing is that I didn't do it at all because I finished my second round and second week of December. So it
Gotcha.
was, yeah, holidays, full, you know. So I didn't do it. I just went straight ahead to eating and partying, and then my birthday was in January, so I didn't do it at all. And
Gotcha.
I wasn't even checking my weight because I was afraid to look at the
Like
scale.
I
So
know what's happening.
yeah, that's right. So I had 3 weeks off work, so yeah, it was traveling and eating, and I didn't do it at all. So
Gotcha.
all the weight came back,
Oh,
all within 6 weeks.
okay.
I-
And
Yeah,
about
so
how much was that about?
it was 5 kilos, so that's
Okay,
about
12,
12 pounds.
about 12 pounds. Okay, so you lost
12.
about 12 pounds. Was that your
Yes, on
first round?
second round.
Oh, your
We
second.
dropped
Okay, cool. And then it all came back in 6 weeks. So,
everything. So I had to wait 8 weeks just in case,
yeah,
you know.
right.
So that's when I started my last round that I did with injections and it worked pretty well.
Yeah. So tell me
Yeah.
now in contrast, phase three this time you took it more seriously. So how did that go this time? What did you do? How did it go?
Well, I was the last week I was like, oh, yeah, next week I'm gonna eat, more. I had cravings. I wasn't hungry,
Yeah.
but I did have cravings. I was like, all I could think of was chocolate, So I started Googling, recipes and it says, hey, you can have chocolate on P3. Just
Yep.
do it yourself.
Right, right.
So the night before going to P3, I started cooking and baking and doing things because I wanted to do it right, but I had cravings. So I needed, my chocolate. I wanted my sweets. I wanted a huge steak,
Yeah.
You have steak on P2, but you don't have a huge steak,
Right. Yeah, it always probably leaves you wanting more, you know?
Yeah. So I've been doing the protocol. I did the first 3 weeks, and then I tried to stay on P3. I've added a few things. I've had, like wine or a drink, or had flour tortillas. Like I told you the other day, I didn't gain any weight, so
Awesome.
it worked for
So
me.
it's okay. Awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just so people, the takeaway for people, you know, that phase three is so important. Like Patty, I had a time when I didn't do phase three too, and I gained back almost all of what I lost in my second round, and it comes back very quickly when you do that. Whereas if you had eaten the same foods um, in P4, it's likely that you wouldn't have gained it back as much. But even then, like the P3 that I didn't do well, I was even eating things that I just shouldn't be eating in general. So
I don't.
yeah, but so it's just good for us, just good reminders, you know.
Yeah, and you test what you can have and what you cannot have, or if you're gonna indulge, don't go wild and do damage control.
Right, right. So let's actually get into
Yeah.
that now. Like as far as what have you learned from this whole experience as far as how to maintain your weight now with eating in a balanced way? Like how have you figured out what works for you?
What I really like about this diet is that I'm learning what I can have and what I shouldn't have. Like bacon, I can have bacon and I don't gain weight.
Okay.
So it's like you can have nice food,
Yeah.
You can enjoy food but stick to the things that don't make you gain weight, like fruits, very sugary fruits, or large amounts of fruit makes me gain weight.
Gotcha.
So I try to stay away from very sugary foods. I do eat fruit because I want to keep it balanced.
Right.
But I have I forgot the name of this. The
Watermelon?
kind of food that you can have in P2, you have
Oh,
apples, you
grapefruit?
have strawberries, you
Grapefruit?
have The big one.
Grapefruit. Grapefruit?
Grapefruit.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, I know. I do that too.
Sorry, grapefruit. I can have grapefruit and it's okay.
Cool.
But certain things I need to stay away from, like I don't know, corn and stuff like that. I stay away from that. But fats in general, butter. I buy a lot of butter every time I go to
Yeah.
the
So it
supermarket.
sounds like you're having a fairly like a higher fat diet and it sits well with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Cool.
High fat are okay.
Cool.
Avocados,
And you said with your baking, like your P3 style baking, you do like
yes,
almond flour and stuff like that,
almond
right?
flour, coconut flour,
Cool.
flaxseed.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the way I love bread, but I know I cannot have white flours, regular white flours. So
Yeah.
I make my own bread. In the mornings I make like flaxseed
Yeah.
in a mug and put it in the microwave. You got freshly baked bread in 2 minutes. So
That's great.
that's really what I like about this site, because I know how to maintain my weight, because I have never been able to maintain my weight for a week all my life.
Gotcha. I've actually heard people tell me that before. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
they're like, I can lose weight, I just can't maintain it.
Yeah, that's right. And also, I like that damage control is easy. Like, it was my mother's birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I had 4 different kinds of dessert, and they were not P3 or P4 at all.
Gotcha, yeah.
And I went a little above my 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Steak day, and everything was back to normal.
Cool,
so
cool.
It's like correction is easy, because I used to gain weight and, like I gain 2 pounds and then lose 1 pound. And then next month I would gain another 2 pounds and lose 1. So
Gotcha.
after 2 years, you're 40 pounds overweight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not overnight. But,
Gotcha.
gaining.
That's cool. So you're finding in general then that there are times when you can indulge, like you said.
HCG, just you're like.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And how to indulge.
Gotcha.
What
I wanted to ask you was, so I had a couple questions actually. So you mentioned in the past, you'd overindulge maybe here and there, which we all do that. Like you said, you go to a social function, you end up eating, you don't just eat cucumbers and chicken breast, so, and we all need to be able to do that sometimes, just to enjoy what's there, and it's going to be a higher calorie day. So in the past you said, how are now you said you do steak days and that really does fix it for you. What was the correction methods you would try in the past before you knew about this that weren't working? Like, how is it different?
I would try to avoid fats and, eat a lot of veggies and fruit and,
Oh, gotcha.
avoiding fats,
I see.
Eating light stuff or diet stuff.
Yeah, but it was actually probably higher carb. So,
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Right. Cool. Okay, and obviously that didn't work too well, but then the steak days do work for you.
Yeah, but this weekend since I'm starting P2 again soon, it was like, this is my last chance to have a drink, guys. So let's do it. So I had friends over on Friday and another set of friends over on Saturday. And we had, wine and a lot of cheese with crackers. I think crackers are not good for me, but I did gain weight.
Yeah.
So I did, and on Sundays, like, okay, I am half a pound above my limit. So I'm going to do steak day today, right now. It's Sunday. It's going to be easy.
Yeah.
So I did it. And by Monday, I was back in my limit. And then I ate normally, for this phase or this new way I'm eating. And I was down another pound. So
cool.
I was back to normal.
Cool.
Like,
yeah, that's
great.
Done, Yeah. And tell me, how do you do like your steak days? Like some people sometimes ask me like, well, how big of a steak do you eat? Or what time do you end up eating your dinner? So how do you carry out your steak days?
I try to eat at around 5 or 6 p.m. So this past Sunday, I went to the store at 4 p.m. and went to the, to the counter and says, give me the biggest one. And I got it. So which one of these two? weigh them and give me the biggest one.
Yes.
And I got the biggest one.
And how big was that?
It's 385 grams, so which is like a pound and a half.
Yeah, that's a little over a pound. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it is big, and it was tasty.
Cool. So you do that with an apple or a tomato?
Tomato and with some lemon drops.
Gotcha. Cool. And then during the day when you're doing the fasting part of the day, how do you feel? Do you feel hungry? If you do, like, how do you deal with it?
I drink a lot of water.
Okay.
Drinking a lot of water helps to deal with the hunger.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Water or coffee or tea, but it's usually a bottle of water.
Gotcha.
Next to me at all times.
Great. You know, there was one thing I wanted to go back to before I forget it. When you were talking about discovering what foods you can eat without gaining versus the ones you can't, how did you find that out exactly? Was it kind of like trial and error? Like you would try something and then if you had to gain?
Yes, I would try something new. Like the first week, I was trying to stick to protocol, like very, very strict.
Yeah.
And then started like on the second week adding milk to my coffee.
Okay.
And see how that went. And after the third week, I started, adding more stuff,
Yeah.
carbs or sugars and cheese. Like I didn't have cheese at all for the first 3 weeks.
Okay.
But then I started, adding cheese and things like that. So I tried to see how it goes every time I get something new.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, I keep a log of everything. I have this file on Excel, and I type like, oh, I had these. Let's see how it goes tomorrow. Or I had these and gained weight. Wasn't even worth it.
That's great. That's good. Well, that really helps you though then to see like what's affecting you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good. And I have to tell you guys, I can't say I actually have ever been that detailed, but all the people that I interact with who are more detailed like this, they end up having very smooth P3s. And P3 it can be nerve-wracking, because your weight fluctuates and you don't always know why, what's going on, and so. But I over and over, it's people like you that have it go very smoothly, and help stabilize out more quickly. So that's cool. Oh, and then just the last thing regarding phase 3 before we move on. So you mentioned that you kind of didn't have much dairy then during the main part of P3. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's a trouble spot for a lot of people. I ended up finding that to be the case for myself, at least in P3. And then sometimes the nuts can be a problem, but for you, it sounds like nuts were okay, like almond flour right off the bat was all right.
Yeah, almond flour was all right.
Cool.
Dairy, I didn't get any cheese at store, at supermarket.
Yeah.
I tried to find organic or farm, and there are a lot of options here in
Cool.
Mexico City. So that's why I think that's also a reason why I can't have dairy, because it's like all natural, no preservatives. I think that's also important.
Right. You mentioned a quick little story about something that happened after your very first day of P3. Do you remember when we talked about that? Tell me that full story, because that'll help other people.
Yes, because like I said, the night before going to P3, I started baking and, chocolate and all kinds of stuff. I had lollipops in the freezer. I was baking, my muffins with almond flour and all kinds of stuff. And I had everything on the very next day.
Yeah.
So on the second day of P3, I gained weight. I went almost to the limit, the 2 pound
so
limit.
So almost 2 pounds overnight.
Almost 2 pounds, but I didn't go over.
Quite. Okay.
So it's like, oh my God, what did I just do? So I'm not gonna panic. I'm not gonna just take it, because I'm still within these 2 pounds that I'm allowed to fluctuate,
Yeah.
So I ate normally. I didn't go crazy, with I did have a muffin, but I didn't have like 4.
Yeah.
So I ate, accordingly, and the next day I lost weight. So it was like, okay, it was everything is okay. Everything is okay. Don't panic. You're doing good. So
cool.
Yeah.
So I liked that because it just shows that, because it can be easy to panic when you see kind of a large gain overnight, but a state day is not always necessary, and you do kind of want to save them for when you really need to do one, right? So
Mm,
that's cool. It kind of naturally went down just by cleaning it up a little bit.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah,
good.
because I really went crazy, with the muffins and chocolate. It was like, I want my chocolate
Yeah.
now.
I remember the same thing. Yeah, towards the end of YLCD, yeah, being on Pinterest, like pinning P3 recipes, like, oh my goodness, they look so good, and yeah, you just can't wait to make them, and they are great resources, in moderation. So,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah,
what are some
strawberries
sweet?
and chocolate. Oh my God, you gotta try them on P3.
Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the sweeteners that you use then in your phase 3 baking?
Stevia.
Gotcha.
That's all of it. On my first round, I used on P2. I used natural stevia, but
Okay.
I haven't been able to find it
Mm,
for a good price because natural,
right.
leaves, like the real stevia,
Yeah.
it's not cheap. I went to Peru in August. I got natural
Oh,
stevia for like 50 cents and
how
they,
neat.
yeah. But right now it's just
Doesn't
stevia
it
from the
have
store.
kind of a green taste to you though? The actual plant? No? When I tried it, it was a little bit too like planty.
Well, it's dried, so it
Yeah.
was dried. So I would put it,
And it
or
was okay.
make tea,
Yeah.
or put it like you do with oregano and stuff
Right, right.
on
And it
top
was
of
cool.
the spread. I did like it.
I have to try it again because it's probably an acquired taste because I love stevia, like the white powder, but it is processed. And I
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of using the leaves, like you said, because I had gotten some ground up stevia leaves. It was green, but I tried it in my tea, and it was just like tastes a little bit like a green drink. I was like, I don't know, but maybe if I have it more, because I used to actually hate stevia even like years ago. Yeah, years ago I was just used to sugar, and I tried to start using stevia. I was seeing this like holistic healthcare guy, and I just was like, ugh, gross. And now, I mean, like, that's all I use too, and I love it.
Yeah.
So it's true. Sometimes if you don't like something, if you kind of just keep trying it, you can
You
acquire
get
the
used.
taste. Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I got little stevia in the pantry. I'm gonna use it someday, but that's the only one that I have left. So
Oh,
I have to do it with tea all the time.
gotcha, cool. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess I should have done this earlier, but talk about phase 2. When you did phase 2, because there's the very original protocol, of course, that Dr. Simmons wrote. There's a slightly different one, kind of the homeopathic people use, and then there's other ones that are just totally different. So, what did you end up doing?
I do use, because I'm gonna go P2 again, canned tuna. I think that's
Okay,
not allowed on the original protocol, but I
okay,
canned tuna in order.
okay,
And I did in my first 2 rounds. I did have eggs.
okay,
I think that's not in the original protocol either. In the last round I didn't do it.
okay.
I tried to stay away, but I considered it, doing
Yeah,
it, but I didn't do it. But the tuna, I think and actually it worked quite well. I would
yeah,
have tuna salad and a grapefruit, and it would
cool.
work
I actually
perfectly.
had done some tuna too. The main thing with tuna, if you get the chunk light or whatever, it is like pretty much fat free. I think that's the
Mm.
main concern. The one thing I started getting worried about was the mercury content. You know how tuna has mercury, and I did some tuna my final round, like you, and I liked it, but I don't know. I thought I started feeling a little strange, and I was just worried about the mercury, so it kind of stopped it. But it's good that it is like fat free. I think for the most part. So outside of like those couple things, though, you ate pretty much the vegetables and the meat and fruits that were on the
Yeah,
diet.
yeah, yeah. That was yeah. I tried to not experiment too much when on P2.
Right, right. Now, when you were on it, did you find yourself in any challenging situations while on the diet that were hard?
Dining up
Really?
once, dining.
Once.
It was hell.
You still remember it. So tell
Yes,
me about that. Tell me about that.
well, I usually have lunch and dinner at home. 'Cause my job is a 10-minute walk, so I can come home and have
Really?
my meal here and everything's perfect. But there was this, work, this lunch we had from related to work, so I had to go.
Yeah.
And this was in this fancy restaurant where I think, well, I cannot just order lettuce and a boiled egg, something easy. And somehow this place was like so fancy that they didn't have like fresh eggs to boil. It was like, what? Really? I mean, the menu was like, and so I asked, can you get me the spinach with just a boiled egg? And they were, no, we don't have any. So what, can you, can I have a steak or chicken just grilled, no fat? Oh, we don't have this thing. At the end, they made this chicken in the oven, but it took like an hour. So I was starving.
Oh, no.
And when they finally brought it, I told them, just put the leaves of the salad, no dressings at all.
Yeah.
And bought it with a dressing. Like, God, why? So I returned it and said, please, just the leaves. I'm serious.
And did they do it?
Yeah, I did. But it was like, I was starving,
Yeah. Did everyone else, like, at the lunch, did they kind of see what was going on, or did it feel awkward?
It was just with 2 other people, so they were like, really? And like, yeah, I'm sorry, I've lost this much weight. I'm not going to ruin it.
Right.
I don't care. I'd rather starve, but I'm not going to ruin this.
Well, that's so good. I love that story because, I think a lot of times we'll get into these situations and then kind of due to like peer pressure or us just feeling weird about being difficult, or being, or causing a scene, we'll end up kind of giving in and just, okay, I'll just eat it this time. So I really think that that's cool that you like have the gumption to just still send it back after all of that. And
this is not easy. This is diet, having 500 calories. I'm not gonna ruin it.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So, but overall, it was obviously not an easy situation. So, and I do tell people, like, I do get a lot of questions like, so how do I eat out or how do I go on vacation while being on HCG? And most of the time I'm just like, just don't. Like, it's just.
Yeah, that's right. Avoid it.
Yeah, just avoid it if at all possible.
Bring your own food if it's.
Yeah.
You're not embarrassed to do it.
Right. Yeah, and just to remember, it's only a few weeks. It's like if you can try to do it when you're not going to be away, and just see people before or after, because it's tough. It's tougher than we think. I think when you're not on the diet, you think, oh, it'll be easy to just have a little lettuce and chicken, and then and then that happens, and they bring the dressing in.
You can never be sure that they really cook the chicken with no fat at all.
Right.
Maybe the grill has fat in it.
Right, yeah. And they don't know what you're doing, so yeah, they're not understanding what's important. Or honestly, even to this day, because I have to eat gluten-free, and even to this day, I mean, there's definitely a lot more awareness now about being, gluten-free, but when I go to restaurants, there's still some that I'll like ask like, oh, is there any flour in this, or I can't eat gluten, and they're like, like, they don't know what I'm talking about, or they're like, well, I think it's okay. I'm like, well, I need to know, like, for sure, because I'll be like in the ER if I don't, so, yeah, so it can be challenging, but all right, cool. Let me see here. Oh, good, we're almost done. Oh, we already talked about that, so let's see. I guess that's really all we really. Maybe I'll just ask you, like, so in closing, I think we covered just about everything we talked about before. What's your best advice for anyone going into this protocol? What are some of the like main things that you think they should know?
I think people should know that you cannot cheat on HCG. I always tell people, this is not for the faint of heart. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you gotta commit to it. Because if you don't, it's not gonna work.
Right.
I think that's the main concern. It's not how much you want it. It's like how much are you going to commit to do it. Right. That would be my advice.
Good.
I mean, commit to it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because it works, but you have to work for it.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. Oh, and before I forget, there was actually one more thing. Recipes.
Oh yeah.
Recipes. So Patty said that she came up with a couple of her own phase two recipes that she enjoyed while in phase two, and then she has some favorites in phase three that she, found online. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put the recipes that she made up. She's gonna send them to me, so they will actually be in the blog post that goes with this interview. So you can go check those out, and we'll also have some links to some of her favorite P3 baked good recipes too. So what were a couple of them, by the way, just to whet their
My
appetite?
favorite two recipes are soups:
Yeah,
tomato soup
sounds good.
and onion soup.
That
The
sounds
onion
good.
soup, you have to make it a slow cook because that's how you get the richness of the flavor of the. Because if you do it, like on
Yeah,
stove top for half an
forget.
hour, it won't work. You have to
Gotcha.
let it, cook the whole night, and it's very rich. And
Mm,
you can have it even if you're not on keto. It's really, really, really good.
that sounds. And you could probably make like a large batch too, huh? And then
Yeah, might as
several.
well cook it very small so I can only have two servings. So
Yeah,
the recipe is going for those two servings,
yeah, yeah.
but you have a large batch for
Cool.
everyone in the family.
Awesome. So you guys just go, the link will be in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're on my blog right now, you can just scroll down. Yeah, and you'll see the recipe for that. So thanks so much for your time today, Patty. I really appreciate
Thank
it. You look great, and I'm gonna have there's some before and after photos that you'll see here in the video, and they'll also be below in the blog post. So yeah, and keep up the good work.